This is Jesse Phillips with Waypoint Technology Group. I just wanted to bring you guys another tech tip, this one being on IBSS for Trimble Access. So what we're going to cover today, basically we'll do an introduction. What is IBSS? What are some of the benefits? Then we'll go over more of the fun stuff like the setup in Trimble Access and setting up the survey style, and then looking at both the base station and Rover Setup. And finally, managing IBSS streams and users in Trimble Access. What you'll need to use Trimble IBSS is a controller with Trimble Access version 2023.1 or newer, a Trimble identity or a TID is how I'll refer to that throughout this tip. Basically, that's a login, a username, an email, a password through Trimble. And if that's new to you, if you don't have a Trimble identity, you can easily set one up. The link I have here, help.trimble.com, how do I create an account, walks you through that step by step. And if you go to that website, it kind of walks you through the steps of how to create an account. It's pretty straightforward. You select your region, enter your name and email, verify your identity, enable or don't enable multi-factor authentication, but basically you'll need a Trimble identity to use Trimble IBSS. In addition, you'll need an internet connection both at your controller or data collector and then also at your base station. And that can be a MiFi unit, a hotspot, or a SIM connection. To utilize Trimble IBSS, this will work on the listed GNSS receivers, R10, Model 1 and 2, R12, R12i, R750, R780, R580. The R750 is in red because currently that's the only receiver that can actually take a 4G SIM. So that simplifies things as far as the internet connection at the base. If you're using an R750, you can just utilize a SIM installed. If you're using one of the other receivers, you can easily leave a hotspot or a MiFi unit at the base to provide the internet connection. You'll also need a Connect Business subscription is highly recommended as opposed to just the free Connect subscription. And that'll need to be tied to your TID. We here at Waypoint Technology Group can certainly help you out with that. Just FYI, this Connect Business subscription is included with your perpetual license of Trimble Access, as long as you're up to date with software maintenance. And if you have a Trimble Access subscription, it's included with that, so no extra fee. So for the introduction, what is IBSS, or Trimble's Internet Base Station Service? So for many of you, RTK corrections are not a new thing. Many of you have utilized it via UHF radio corrections or over the internet, utilizing a local or a state-run RTN. Basically, we're transferring corrections over the internet, and you're utilizing your own base station as opposed to relying on like a network's base station. So it's an easy way to stream RTK corrections from your base station to your rover, and they're automatically streamed to any rover that it's using IBSS in the same Trimble Connect project. So the terminology is pretty important with Trimble IBSS, and much of it revolves around a Trimble Connect project, which correlates to a Trimble Access project, not a job. One of the benefits is you don't need to, with this service, you don't need to, configure your own server, which is something that you had to do in the past or was possible of doing, or relying on some third-party server. Just Trimble has it, a nice service packaged all in one. And so this is just an illustration of what we're basically accomplishing: setting up your own base station in the field, sending corrections over the internet, being received at your own rover. You could use it for a permanent base or a temporary base. Either way. And then just many benefits to this over radio-based correction. No need for all the extra equipment that is required for radio transmission. Greater bandwidth over the internet can provide corrections for more satellites, so some improved quality there. Definitely one of the biggest is improved range versus radio-based corrections. Many times that's a limiting factor based on terrain or things or interference, and improve reliability. So less interference, less transmission loss over IP. All right, so on to the fun stuff. Setting up IBSS in Trimble Access. So how to configure the survey style. So I'll switch out to Access for that. Here we are in Access. So as far as configuring the survey style, if you go to the burger button and Settings and Survey Styles in Trimble Access, I already have one set up, but I will delete that. And we'll just start from scratch. So we'd want to create a new survey style. We can call it IBSS test. It is a GNSS survey type. And then we'll just go down through the big four here, the Rover options we'll start at. The survey type is RTK. Ideal broadcast format is Trimble's proprietary format, CMRX. For my Rover, I do have an R12i. So if not, you'd choose your appropriate antenna type. Bottom of quick release is good for that receiver. I'll just say it's at 2 meters. The rest I can leave. I want to make sure all the appropriate satellites are checked that I can track. And I can hit accept. Under Rover data link, you're going to want to switch the type radio, switch that to internet connection. And GNSS correction source, if I hit this little right arrow here, I'm going to actually choose IBSS, which is a built-in GNSS correction source with version 2023.1 or newer. One thing you may want to check, one tip, is if you select it and hit edit, just make sure it's set to maximum compatibility as opposed to enhanced security. That'll make it much more difficult to connect. So recommend maximum compatibility to avoid issues there. Hit store. Make sure IBSS is selected and click accept. It defaults to using, for internet source, the internet at your controller. So whether that's a SIM in your data collector or if you have a MiFi or hotspot that you connect your data collector to. But it's as simple as that for the Rover. You can hit accept. A little bit more to configure with the base. Under base options, you could select your survey type to RTK, or if you are logging raw data at the base, you could change it to something like RTK and logging. But leave it at just RTK for today. Make sure the broadcast format matches whatever you had set at the Rover, which is CMRX. Today I'm using an R750 with a Zephyr 3 base antenna. So whatever you're using for your base station, you want to enter that there. And for that, I'm going to measure to bottom of notch. And we can leave that for default, and then make sure you're tracking all the same signals as you were in your Rover, and click accept. Next is the base data link. So we'll also want to switch that one to internet connection. And your GNSS correction source, once again, you'll right arrow over and select IBSS, the pre-configured source. Just make sure it's set to maximum compatibility. Hit accept. And this is where there's a little more to configure, or you have different options. So this is asking for the GNSS internet source at your base station. And if you arrow over to the right, there's 4 different options. So how are you providing internet to your base station? Are you leaving a controller at the base station? That's kind of limiting, but that is an option. Are you plugging your base station in via cable? Probably not so common unless you have a fixed base station. But probably the 2 most common would be the modem and the Wi-Fi. So receiver internet modem, currently that would only really apply to the Trimble R750, like I mentioned earlier, where you can install a SIM into it and use its internal modem. Many of you are probably just going to leave a hotspot or a MiFi. So for that one, you would pick receiver internet Wi-Fi. And you can actually configure that right in the survey style or when you go to start the base receiver. But I'll walk you through that real quick. If you select receiver internet Wi-Fi and click edit, you can see it takes you to a Wi-Fi configuration page. You can actually scan for networks or hotspots in the area. I could select our office, connect to that by entering the security key, and you would likewise connect to your hotspot or MiFi unit and enter the password there. Hit accept, and once it populates this IP address, you should be good to go. And you can hit accept, and that's all you would select there. You hit accept again. Now I also recommend checking this prompt for internet source before you move on, just in case there's multiple different ways you may be connecting to the internet at the base. This way it'll prompt you, do you want me to use a SIM card? Do you want me to use a hotspot? It'll prompt you as you start this survey. So that's how you could configure it for a MiFi or a hotspot. I'm actually going to use the SIM in the R750 today, so I'll go ahead and change that. Just for demonstration purposes, I would just choose receiver internet modem. And you can edit it, but there shouldn't be anything I need to enter in there for that. Because my modem, there's no pin set for my modem. So should just be able to click that. And that's what we're going to run with today. So just remember, most importantly, it just depends on how you want to connect to the internet at the base. So we'll hit accept. The rest would all just be based on your own personal preferences. So we'll hit store. All right, so we've got our survey style IBSS test. Next, we'd want to make sure that we are logged in to Trimble Access with our Trimble identity that we've created. Now I'm already logged in, but I can just sign out. And so this is what it looks like if you're not signed in. You just have a little guy, little person here is gray. So you want to make sure you sign in. You make sure your controller is connected to the internet or this won't work. Enter that, and then we should be able to be signed in. And now you notice our little person here is yellow. So once you're signed in, you'll see if you're new to the Trimble Connect field to office workflow, if you have just a project like this, remember we need to really differentiate here between the project level and the job level in Trimble Access. We see a project like this is just local, so there's no cloud icon, but something with a cloud icon indicates that it's a project in the cloud. And that's really how IBSS works, how it shares those corrections. It utilizes the Trimble Connect project, which translates to a Trimble Access project. So if you have an existing project that you'd like to use IBSS in, you could select it here in the project menu, go to the three dots, and you could click upload. Or alternatively, so if I just want to create a new project, I'll just call it IBSS train, and I'll create a new job in that project. This is New York East. We'll just get this set up real quick. So just set up like the job like you normally would. Then if I would go back to the project level, we'll see that's just local, the project I've created, but we need it to be uploaded to Trimble Connect to the cloud for IBSS to work. So if you go to the three dots and hit upload, your server is going to be North America. And then in the license, this is where you're going to choose your Connect Business subscription. I don't have actually one of those assigned or associated with my TID, but you would, and you choose Connect Business subscription. That way you wouldn't have any limitations as far as how many projects you could create in the cloud and utilize. But I'll utilize this other license option, which I have access to, which should work. And now you see it's a cloud project, and I got my little check mark. So now this is a cloud project. So if I want to open that and open the job I created, we should be able to move on to the next steps. So we've got our survey style. So next would be base station setup. And basically the 4 simple steps to doing that, I'll just briefly go over it here and then we'll look at that in the software. But so we're going to open or create a cloud project, which we just did. We're going to open or create a job, which we also just accomplished. And then we're going to start your IBSS base and create an IBSS stream. And start your base station as you normally would. So what that looks like in the software, I've already connected to my R750 base. So I already have my survey style set up. I should be able to go to the burger button, measure, and IBSS test survey style, start base receiver. So since I have it to prompt the internet source, this is why this came up. So if I wanted to configure a Wi-Fi network, I could do that, or I could continue on my modem setting and use the SIM in the R750, which I'll do. I'll hit accept. And then here's where you need to create a name for your internet base station service stream. So you can call it whatever you want, just as long as you recognize it when it comes up in the mount point list. But no spaces are allowed, so just remember that. I'll just call it IBSS_train. So hit create and hit accept. And it's asking me if I want to use the existing internet connection at my base. I'll say yes, meaning the internal modem, the SIM. And then from this point on, it should look like it normally has for you when you started a base receiver using radio base corrections. So enter your base point name, and I'll need to key in a point because I don't have a point here. So I'll just hit the here button at the bottom here, and I will call it test. Just pull in some rough coordinates for that. I'm going to measure the bottom notch. We'll just say it's 2 meters for demonstration purposes, and we'll hit start. It says base started. You should be good to go on your base. So now your base station is streaming corrections via the internet utilizing your Trimble Connect project or your Trimble Access project. So next, we're going to look at the Rover Setup. So you open a cloud project with an IBSS base stream. Open or create a job. Start the IBSS Rover survey, and then select your IBSS stream from the list. So what that looks like in Trimble Access. So I'm already in, I'm working in the project where the base stream was created, so no issues there. And I'm in my job here, and I can just go to measure and choose that survey style IBSS test. It should automatically switch to the Rover, and I should be able to get some corrections. So this is fine and dandy if you've created the project or you've uploaded an existing project, and this is all in your own controller, and you're just utilizing your own base, and just one data collector is involved. So, but there is a capability of sharing this stream with. We'll get to that in 1 minute. So as I start my Rover survey here, I have a connection to the internet at my Rover at the controller there, and I can select my data source, and here's the stream name I set up, IBSS train, and you can look at the details of that. It's got the serial number of the base station, which is helpful, and it's in CMRX. It says it's an R750, so this all looks good. Can hit accept. It'll establish that connection, and then I should be good to go here in 1 second. My IMU is not aligned. I'll just turn that off here for 1 second for demonstration purposes because I don't have access to it to align it this second. So if I turn that off, you'll see here we should initialize to survey grade precisions quite quickly. This little green check here is where we can check our internet connection and the corrections. We see the reliability is 100%, the data transfer rate, how old it is. It looks like it's only a second old, so we're getting an update every second, and we can see we've got really good precisions, especially since I am set up right next to our office here. All right, so we're good to go. We're utilizing Trimble IBSS, no radio, and the last thing I wanted to look at in our little presentation here. So how do we manage the base stations and the users? The important thing to remember is you can share RTK directions to users in the same Trimble Connect project. So users have to access Trimble Connect, must have access to Trimble Connect to use IBSS. So that's why they need an active software maintenance or be on subscription to make sure their Connect business subscription is up to date and running. Admins, which you'll see that in a second, there's 2 different types of users. There's just admins or users that you can set up in Trimble Connect. So if you are an admin of a Trimble Connect project, you can create and delete IBSS streams. If you're just designated as a user, you can just utilize that stream. So I'll show you that in 1 second. And like we saw earlier, local projects that you create in Trimble Access on your data collector can be uploaded to the cloud from the field in Trimble Access. So although this is utilizing Trimble Connect, you don't need to do anything on a laptop in Trimble Connect unless you absolutely want to. Everything can be done through Trimble Access software, including adding users. So this is just showing you the connection here, what it looks like in Trimble Access at the project level. That corresponds to a Trimble Connect project if you use Trimble Connect on desktop or otherwise. And then here's how you add users. Basically, they also have to be a part of the Trimble Connect project. Anyone that you want to share the stream with, any of your coworkers that are also using Access, that also want to use IBSS and want to use the same base station stream. It's easy enough to do in Trimble Access, but you can also do that in Trimble Connect. What that looks like in the software, if you go back to the project level, our project is, and this is also a Trimble Connect project, remember, IBSS train. If we go to the three dots and look at sync settings, you can easily look at what base streams have been created. You can create new ones if you have multiple base stations on one site. So this is where you could do that. This is very similar to the menu you saw when we started the base receiver, since I hadn't created a stream yet. And the other important one would be this icon here, this people symbol. This is where you would invite other users to this Trimble Connect project. So you could click invite, and as long as the other users have a Trimble identity, have Trimble Connect business, they should be good to go. But you can enter their email here and then set them up as user or admin. Remember, an admin can create and delete streams. A user can just utilize those streams, so that's up to you. And you click invite. Now once you send that invite out, they, as long as they're signed in Trimble Access with their TID, and they hit refresh, and they're connected to the internet, they should see the option to download. Once they download that project, they can create a local job in that project and utilize the stream just the way you and I did right now with setting up the Rover. Any questions? Please feel free to reach out to me, 518-438-6293 option 2, or our help portal, waypointtech.freshdesk.com, and we'd be happy to help. Thanks again. This was Jesse Phillips, Geospatial Technology Advisor with Waypoint Technology Group, a authorized Trimble reseller in New York, New Jersey, and New England. Thanks a lot, and have a good day.